The smell of sawdust, dirt, and manure rippled through the warm, stifling air in the saloon. Hotter still than the air was the silent fury building amongst the men inside. Gathered in a loose circle, they clung to the words of fellow miner Evans, who had finally had enough of a long-standing issue in the small mining town. He stood tall, with rage painting his face.
We came out here 3 years ago to mine for gold, to provide for our families. What have we been doing since arriving in this godforsaken hellhole of a town? Working for that demented, damned overlord, doing his bidding, barely scrounging together enough to feed ourselves, let alone the families we left behind. Look at us. We're many. He is one man.
A man, smartly dressed, adorned with a shining star on his chest, stepped forward, hand outstretched as he tried to quell Evans' outburst.
Evans, he's given us so much. Protection, stability. Yes, his demands are extreme, but I think we need to trust him, said Sheriff Colton, hoping to subdue the aggression without resulting to arrests or confrontation.
Colton, I never reckoned you for a coward until I saw the way you bend over backwards for that creep. Nothing about him is good. He'll wear these men ragged until there's nothing left.
Evans is right. We can't keep up with his demands.
He's made his conditions clear, Evans. He needs only a select supply. And once it's been met, we have access to everything left over. We are so close to our goal. This is a sacrifice we should be willing to make.
Perhaps the sacrifice we should be willing to make is finding a new sheriff.
Evans, that... Colton's protest was cut short by the sound of a swinging door creaking open with force. Heavy boots made reverberating steps on the rough wood floors. The crowd grew deathly silent, all eyes focusing on the man who entered the room, tall, slender, with a confident smirk.
My, everyone seems to be here. What a festive event. And I seem to have misplaced my invitation.
Speak of the devil, and he shall appear.
Mr. Silvershade, I'm sorry. The boys were just having some off-time banter. Nothing significant. Your loyalty to your friends is admirable, Colton, but also misguided. I heard everything Mr. Evans had to say, and Evans, may I offer you an explanation that may alleviate you of your misgivings?
We've had enough of your fancy words and twisted truths, Argent. Your raid is coming to an end, and now.
I asked your people to mine silver for me. It was a necessity for me. In return, I will leave all the mining equipment and land rights to you in perpetuity. An unexpected emergency situation has arisen, which requires more silver, and in a much shorter time window. I can say no more than that.
And we've been mining that silver for 3 whole years, only collecting what scraps of gold we can find in our spare time or by accident. We can't even sell the silver we find because practically it all goes to you. How much longer will this take?
The end is near. We just need a little more time.
Well, time has run out. We'll get you out of this town here and now and take back everything you've swindled from us.
A shame, dear Evans. My motives are justified. It would have all been near its completion. However,
Argent raised his hand to Evans' stomach, staring directly into his eyes, that same smirk still heavy on his face. While the men in the saloon weren't exactly sure what they saw, they heard it. Argent's hand changed from flesh to silver, extending into a long blade that pierced through Evans' stomach. Evans gurgled his last breath out and went limp on the blade, which then rescinded back into Argent's hand. Once again, mere flesh. They heard the body crumple to the floor and saw it limp and lifeless, resting in a pool of blood. Argent wiped his hand carefully with a handkerchief, which he then disposed of by calmly dropping it on the body. He scanned the room, meeting the eyes of the men in the room.
Due to some unexpected loss of material, the process may take longer. Work hard, men. Your reward is in sight. Colton, walk with me. The saloon barely recovered from the silence that fell over it. Little louder than soft whispers rose amongst the men, something Colton noticed as he followed Argent in the cold, crisp nighttime, brilliant moonlight illuminating the road they followed. Colton, the men are growing more agitated. I appreciate your support and quiet resolve, but we may be forced to enact more draconian measures. Argent, please, bear with them. They have many worries about life back home. It's understandable. Perhaps we could give them my cut. I would be willing to sacrifice. That is out of the question, Colton. If I would consider that option, I'd have left months ago when they acquired all the silver I needed. We need your silver as well. Will it even work? I'm not like you. You're unique. To me, you are unique, Colton. I can make it work. We will have your silver, and you will be made ready, and we can escape this primitive backwater together. I have so much to show you. Argent leaned in and gently placed his lips against Colton's. Colton wanted to argue further, to make another offer, but as he felt the soft electrical tingle of Argent's lips against his, he forgot everything and was lost in a moment. I love you, Argent. The winds of the desert blew through the plains, whipping dust and tumbleweeds into complex dances of elegance and isolation. Amongst these, a shock of blue gradually came into view, fading in and out before finally manifesting as a solid and real object. A striking blue box with doors. The doors opened and two people came out. Todar was once again dumbstruck by his surroundings, while the doctor was calm and analytical, trying to pin the tale on the destination. Well, it's definitely a desert. This is amazing. So much untouched land, no train tracks, no fumes, just beautiful, pristine nature. Well, unfortunately for you, there most certainly will be trains here, as well as fumes, just nowhere near as many as your planet had. We're on Earth, on a continent known as North America. I'd say roughly the 1850s. Essentially, the peak of the gold rush. I remember that. It wasn't talked about very much, but it was definitely a page in our history books. People packing up lives to travel wilderness to find any chance to collect gold. Hard to believe it was ever that valuable. Humans haven't even discovered the radioactivity of uranium yet, let alone its myriad uses that would elevate it as a desired substance. They walked over vast wealth without even realizing it. Okay, so, why are we here? Are you tracking something else again? I'm just checking since our last trip was pretty much a planned attack. That's rather aggressive phrasing. I'd prefer to think of it as enthusiastic curiosity. And to answer your question, there's no reason. I just asked the old girl to drop us anywhere. You'd better ask her why we landed here than me. I'm not yet at the point of talking to a time machine doctor, but as long as we aren't doing anything, let's just enjoy the sights. They strolled casually through the desert, passing plant life, the occasional strange animal which always pulled Todar's attention, and finding the odd sights of humanity's presence scattered across the landscape. Broken, disused, and rusted pickaxes, shovels, and shattered wooden crates were the most common blights on the natural scenery. And as their occurrences increased, the doctor noted that they must be approaching some form of civilization. Soon enough,
The sight of rough wooden buildings blighted the horizon, and the two wanderers redirected their course. As they approached the town, the sound of guttural, pained moaning became apparent nearby. Toda progressed forward, trying to pinpoint the source. He soon found it. A scruffy, malnourished man, looking about 30, collapsed on the ground, leaning against a rock. Toda quickly rushed to his side, crouching and staring into the man's dry, glassy eyes.
Are you okay? Doctor, do we have water? Sir, what's your name? We're gonna take care of you, I promise.
No, leave me alone. I can't keep going. I can't keep doing this. I'll run away from this place. Bear the desert, Silvershade. Name's Travis. Put down my grave.
Do you mean this town up ahead?
Town? More like a prison. We came here to mine for our families. He treats us like slaves, worse even. Can't even profit because he keeps almost everything for himself. I barely touched gold in 3 years.
Rich people never change, do they? Always hoarding. Why is he keeping all the gold?
Gold! Gold, he never touches the stuff. Silvershade's only interested in silver. We can sell any gold we find easily, but he never lets us mine where it's richest. Always silver. Only silver. Silver for him to hoard. Well, we get a pittance.
Silver. During the gold rush, Doctor, was another valuable commodity of the era, to be fair, but still. Sir, please swallow this. The doctor handed the man a small rough capsule, nudged him on with gentle gestures. The man was hesitant, but gave in to the request and swallowed the pill. His eyes grew wide as he felt a sudden urge of hydration coursing through his body, reviving him and re-energizing him almost instantly. He corrected his slumped posture and sat in front of them, seeming less like a disheveled vagrant of the sands and more a relaxed man resting on a rock.
I feel like I've drank a full gallon of water in a second. What was that, sir?
Water pill. Hypercondensed water molecules that expand once the shell is dissolved. Perfect for extreme dehydration. Now, sir, I wonder if you could tell us about this Silvershade person. They helped the man up and rerouted their trek through the desert until they brought him to the TARDIS. Short of letting him inside, the Doctor and Toda retrieved camping materials from inside and set up more than comfortable habitat outside the TARDIS. Travis relished in the comfort he never expected to experience ever again, and as the sun began to set over the distant mountains, Toda came out from the TARDIS, carrying several plates of cubes of food.
I got us all meals. Not entirely sure what it is, though. That food replicator's great, but I can't read the instructions at all, Doctor. Afraid it's going to be blind tasting all around. Yes, the one problem with Time Lords, they never thought anyone would ever need their language translated. My granddaughter always intended to make English instructions. That was so long ago, though. You got a granddaughter, sir? Hardly look old enough for that. Moisturizer. Now then, we're housed, comfortable, feasting on...
The doctor picked up a slice of the meal with his fork and tasted it curiously, letting it sit on his tongue while he pondered the flavor.
A reasonably well-prepared salmon tartare. It's time you told us about this mysterious Silvershade character.
Travis uncomfortably adjusted his posture, already tense once again at the mere memory of the name. Toda and the doctor both stared at him carefully, ready to listen, though Toda gave equal attention to his meal.
He didn't quite found the town, but he was here early on. Took over easy. Made the miners an offer too good to be true. He needed us to mine silver for, as he put it, his own devices. And once we filled that order, he'd give us the rights to every mine, every piece of equipment, everything in the entire region, he claimed. Sounded like a dream, but each year, he'd tell us there needed to be more silver. We thought we were close last year, and he seemed optimistic. Out of nowhere, the required amount of silver doubled, and he said we'd have to work harder, longer, and faster.
And what? When that number was close, it increased again? Have you guys stood up against him?
Evans did. And what happened to him is why I ran out to the desert. Why I ran out to my own death.
Explain.
He came into the saloon while Evan was trying to stir up an uprising, all calm and smug like. And I know this sounds crazy as all get out. He turned his hand into a silver sword and stabbed Evans right through his belly. Then he said he'd need more silver after that. Man is something fearsome demonic, sir.
Intriguing. Travis, feel free to stay here for the night. Toda, I think we should head back to the town. Toda nodded a silent agreement, handed an extra blanket to Travis, and they once again retraced their steps, this time returning to the site of Travis's discovery. They stared out to the small town, this time with a new perspective. Do you think it's as bad as he said? It doesn't exactly look like some inhumane prison. Nightmares come in many forms. Some dressed as idyllic hamlets, some as hellscapes, others as 19th century outposts. One must never judge by appearances alone, after all. You're traveling through time and space in a blue police box. Prejudging will soon become an alien concept. So then why silver? I know humanity has a long history of greed and cruelty, but something about this doesn't sound like cornering a market. Especially with that whole sword story. Indeed. Which is why we must investigate. Come along then. No time like the present. As they started to walk through the town, which seemed larger as they walked its main street than it did from a distance, they both noted the heavy weight of quiet that hung over it. This town felt barely lived in. The saloon was the only real source of any sense of human energy, so this was where Todar and the doctor made their beeline. Entering the saloon revealed a new extreme to the uncomfortable stillness of the town, as its activities were stilted, muted, and minimal. A group of men sat at a table, hidden away in a poorly lit corner, drinking while barely whispering to each other, while the proprietor distracted himself with cleaning glasses that had probably never been dirty for weeks. Todar poorly attempted to conceal his confusion at the scene before him and leaned closer to the doctor to whisper to him. I won't pretend to be an expert, but this doesn't seem like the typical saloon experience. Decidedly not. These places are notorious for rowdy behavior, shootouts, and revelry to counteract the drudgery of their working days. This certainly isn't the time of day to just dismiss this as an unideal hour. I'll speak to the proprietor. You handle our boisterous little crowd over there. Got it. I'll try not to get sucked into the party life. Todar approached the men, noticing the sharp, darkened glares they all threw his way as he approached. He felt an odd sense of awkwardness at how out of place he was. However, he felt at the very least he owed Travis. Hey there, guys. How's your day going?
Don't reckon I know you enough to say, boy. Don't I forget strangers, let alone nosy strangers.
Okay, wrong foot. Let me try this another way. Do you guys know Travis?
You know Travis? You hardly seem the type to make his acquaintance.
My friend over there and I found him in the desert, dehydrated, delirious. We had to patch him up. It was rough. He sent us to check on things in his town, find answers. You help me, you help him.
Now, see, that's got my interest well and truly tickled. Good man, that Travis. He took Evan's death. We don't talk about that now.
He already told me about it. Evan stood up to Silvershade. Silvershade stabbed Evan. That's what we're investigating.
Now, look, see, we don't want trouble around here. Silvershade is unconventional, but he's done good for us. Kept us safe and fed and sheltered. What happened to Evans was unfortunate, but we don't need to go to any extremes.
From what I hear, he is slave driving you guys, making you harvest silver in huge quantities and keeping the bulk for himself. I don't think it's greed or animosity. Something's going on here. That whole story about his hand?
It's just that, a story. He kept the sword hidden up his sleeve, that's all. No more, no less.
Do you believe that?
I reckon I may well have to.
Then enjoy your mining. Enjoy never helping your families. On the other side of the saloon, the doctor casually leaned against the bar, hoping to catch the proprietor's attention. A few emphatic clearings of his throat all proved unsuccessful, so he decided to take a less dignified approach and rap his fist on the counter. The response was an irritated glance, a heavy sigh, and a begrudging approach.
Hello, good man. I'm the doctor. Any chance I can procure one of your fine beverages and make a few inquiries? I could start with asking your name.
Name is That's the only thing I could understand in that little mess.
Is an unusual name. Let me rephrase. May I have a drink and ask a few questions?
Short for Eric. My parents picked it for me. 1 pint coming up.
Unusually short name to shorten further. Oh, thank you.
I was a mistake, you see. Was closer to the truth, but Eric looked better on paper.
Ah, well, that's certainly a conversation starter. Anyway, I was wondering, why do the miners here focus on silver so much? I've analyzed the local trade. Excuse me. I've looked at the general area, and it seems they'd all do better to mine gold or even platinum.
No market for it yet. We'll do one day. Now silver's bringing more. We do good trade with the Navajo near us.
Really? Because I've heard there's a bit of a bottleneck on your supply.
And who did you hear that from? We get a lot of competition in other towns. They like spread little rumors sometimes. Real nasty work.
I heard it from a man named Travis. Said he was from this town.
At this, went silent and pallid. His eyes conveying a shock he barely managed to mask with his voice.
Travis, eh? Never expected to hear his name again. Disappeared a few days ago.
Yes, we found him. Saved him from the brink of death. He's safe now. Far from this town, and from what I've heard, it may be for the better.
Leaned in close, gesturing for the doctor to do the same. As they met within close proximity, began whispering quietly but agitatedly.
Now, you listen here, Doctor. These questions are going to get more people killed and no answers gained. You've been lucky so far, but you're going to need to watch your mouth.
Well, where can I get some answers?
There are no answers. Move on.
The doctor and Todar reconvened in a separate corner of the saloon, both with rather dour expressions on their face.
That was a complete waste of time.
I also had no luck. I can't think of any other avenues we could take.
The saloon doors swung open, and a new figure entered the saloon. The doctor noticed the shimmering brass star on his clothing, and suddenly his interest was piqued. This could be very well precisely who they needed to speak to. They watched with silent interest as he approached the bar, resting his weight on it and talking to in hushed tones. They caught a subtle twist of his neck as he turned to look at them quickly, before returning his attention to the barkeep. The doctor's turn for subtle gestures came, as he nodded discreetly to Todar, hoping to convey that they had successfully caught his attention. As expected, the sheriff turned from the bar and started approaching, with a severe expression on his face. The doctor adjusted his lapels, and Todar toughened his own stance as best he could.
Evening, gentlemen. My name's Colton, the town sheriff. I hear you've been stirring up some still water hereabouts.
Still waters are apt to promote illness. I'm just a simple man asking simple questions about some unusual happenings in this town.
We've always had our share of busybodies coming through these parts, poking around this saloon. Many of them all met the same fate. Why should you be any different?
Because I know what a Silvershade is, and it's decidedly not a surname.
Colton's eyes widened, and a soft gasp escaped his tight lips. Betraying his stoic facade, he took a step closer and hushed his voice so the other patrons couldn't overhear him.
Then, in that case, I shall take you to meet Mr. Argent Silvershade in the flesh.
A very good idea. The three of them left the saloon and marched in silent procession through the town, towards a larger house, almost mannerly in its appearance compared to the ramshackle buildings surrounding it. As they entered, the interior of the residence was even more disparate to their location. Fine furnishings, lush decor. I feel like we're seeing something more than class disparity here.
The word, in terms of time travel, would be anachronistic. And you're very right. Well, it's not entirely out of place. It certainly does not feel right for the time or place. I'm very interested to meet this Silvershade.
You said it wasn't a name. That triggered Colton. What is a Silvershade?
An alien species whose bodies can integrate and utilize silver in various ways. They can manifest armor, weapons, tools, even travel capsules from silver held within their bodies.
So that's why he needed the silver. To leave the planet.
Precisely.
The two turned to see Argent sauntering into the room, smirk lining his face, his hand formed into a silver claw, obviously ready to deal with these invasive forces if need be.
I escaped a war many years ago and found myself stranded on this planet. The gold rush brought many miners into the area, and the presence of silver in the mountains here offered me an opportunity. I strained my remaining stores to procure enough Earth currency to purchase the claims to this land.
We've heard the story. You offered a deal of allowing them full ownership of the land after you acquired all the silver you needed.
And I shall. The paperwork is all prepared and requires only signatures.
But you lied. You changed the deal. They're mining even more silver for even longer. How many more times will you change your demands?
My situation changed. I had to adapt.
Silvershades can only carry a finite amount of silver in their bodies. You couldn't utilize the excess even when you had it. There's silver lying around this building all over. What is your situation? What changed?
I did.
It was Colton's turn to enter the room, walking to Argent's side and grasping his flesh hand in his own, casting a quick glance at his comrade before redirecting his gaze at the two visitors.
We fell in love. I don't expect you to understand or accept it, but we did. Promised to take me with him. He promised to make me a Silvershade.
The doctor and Todar exchanged glances. The doctor gave a short nod to Todar, offering him the chance to tackle the first issue, while he would take the second. Look, we're not from here. Not just from this town, but not from this planet and not from this time. I understand entirely. I'm the same. I fall in love with men. Terrible men most of the time, but always men. It's natural. The world is slow to accept, but they will. You never need to feel you're anything less than normal.
He's right entirely, but let's move on to the next part. You said that you are becoming a Silvershade. How? And more importantly, why? Your species are prideful of their genetic lineage. Falling for another species is already an outlier action, but trying to transform one into one of yours is an incredible step.
Humans have such short lifespans. Colton and I want to be together. And there's a further complication. Do your people possess scanning technology?
I have a screwdriver.
The doctor pulled his sonic screwdriver from his coat pocket and pointed it at Colton, pressing its buttons to make it begin scanning his form. Todar stared at the strange new device with bewilderment, but still noticed the change in the doctor's face as sadness washed over it.
Cancer. Very advanced for this age as well. You've been converting him to keep him alive.
Yes. In addition to building his own internal store of silver, I've been processing extra with my genetic blueprint to convert his body. Silvershades don't develop cancer, so not only will we have long, natural lives together, but I will not lose him to such a horrible human ailment.
The two men stared into each other's eyes, Argent intense and admiring, Colton emotional and smiling, as tears suddenly round down his cheek. The doctor and Todar stared at each other and made a silent agreement. They would help.
This can't continue as it is, but there is a solution. Allow me to return to my ship. and I can bring something that will solve every problem here almost instantly. Todar, I want you to stay here. Why can't I come with you? We're a team, Doctor. Call it insurance. I want Argent and Colton to know we mean well, and my ship can sometimes be temperamental. Having you here with your imprint means I'll be able to come back easily. Todar was hesitant. He felt his history of abandonment tickling his mind, but he felt speaking it would betray the friendship he and the Doctor had developed. He inhaled deeply and put his emotions to the side, as he had so many times before. Fine. I'll wait for you. We're going to help them. We're going to save Colton's life. Excellent. Worry not, gentlemen. I shall return, and this entire problem shall be solved. The Doctor exited the house and began to trek back to the TARDIS. As he walked, his mind went through the many options and possibilities to solve the issue. He had lied to Todar, and his own personal knowledge of that lie became a burden, even as early as this. The TARDIS came into view, and with it, Travis, still sat by the fire. The Doctor sent a warm smile his way as he arrived at his destination. Mr. Travis, I believe you can return to the town. The situation is something I fully understand now, and you'll be in no danger of harm. No harm? No harm like Evans? No harm like all the overworked miners who struggled every day? I wonder how you define no harm, Doctor. Argent has engaged in some poor choices. I concede that, but I know his motivations and his intentions. I can confirm they are pure and of a priority. Then what are they, and why can't he share them? Well, there's a variety of answers. Because it bewilders belief for your people. Because it would inspire and incite fear and paranoid rage. Or because he fears the reaction by the townspeople. There's perhaps only one reason that wouldn't put his safety at risk, but it's still deeply personal. Man of secrets defending a man of secrets. Look, Doctor, you want me to go back to that town? I need something to make me feel safe in that choice. Colton is dying. It's fast acting. He's at exceptional risk. I can't explain this process, but silver is a critical part of his treatment. Argent doubled the requirement because he wanted to ensure Colton's recovery. Dying. Colton is a good man. I wouldn't wish that on him in the slightest.
The Doctor nodded softly, rubbing his thumb against the grain of the TARDIS door, not wanting to make eye contact with Travis just yet.
Friendship is a powerful thing. It can inspire shocking actions, drive people to desperation in the name of those they care about. It's a darn shameful truth, Doctor. I had a strong friendship with Evans, and it gave me some grand heartache when he died. Argent and Colton do seem to have a pretty interesting friendship.
The Doctor finally turned, leaning against the TARDIS with crossed arms and acknowledging Travis's stare.
Not every friendship fits a specific model, but it doesn't make them any less valid. I reckon you may be right. It's true of friendship. True of love, too.
The Doctor cast a cheeky smile Travis's way, conveying everything he couldn't say in one singular expression.
Indeed. Now then, I have to head off to do something that may solve everyone's problems. I may be gone a while, but I'll be back in no time. Doctor, do you ever say anything that makes sense? I make it a point of pride that I never make sense, in words or actions.
With that, the Doctor stepped into his TARDIS, and Travis watched in wordless, wide-eyed bewilderment as the strange blue box began to gradually vanish from sight, leaving just a square imprint on the sand. Travis stepped over the place where the TARDIS once stood, staring around, hoping to see some reveal of the trick. There was none. The Doctor was gone, and while they waited for his return, Todar sat with the men and talked to them, learning the story of how they first met, how their feelings for each other grew, how Argent discovered Colton's cancer, and how he devised the plan to save Colton's life.
As these stories were told, the distant sound of the TARDIS dematerializing echoed through the desert. A sound that had become so comforting and safe to Todar now sent a chill down his spine and made the hairs on his body stand on end. Time passed, and Todar recounted his own life story to the men. He told them of the first boy he loved, the first boy he cried over, the first boy he punched. He told them of trains and evil cloaked men, and blue boxes and journeys across time and space. A day passed, and Todar picked up work with the miners, helping to alleviate their aggressions and grievances while still respecting the privacy of Argent and Colton, though he frequently pressured them to be truthful. A week passed, and Argent made an allowance to announce Colton's illness and how the silver could help save him. The miners agreed to double their work efforts and sacrifice their meager cuts to assist him. Todar stared at the horizon every day, waiting for the sound of the TARDIS to ring through the mesas and mountains. A month passed, and Todar found himself connecting deeper with Argent and Colton, spending more of the days and all of the nights in their company. He held Colton's hand when Argent administered transfusions and watched with silent admiration as Argent let his vibrant purple blood to fuse his genetics with liquid silver each time. 3 months passed, and Todar felt the blossom of love, almost strong enough to mask his fear and dread of abandonment in this strange time and place. He became an integral part of the relationship between Argent and Colton, helping them come out to the town, who were exceptionally unbothered by the announcement. He embraced Colton as he suffered through a remission after a gap in treatment, kissing him with comforting pecks as Argent sacrificed not just his blood, but his own silver to administer the next treatment. Todar wondered if this was his new life, if he could enjoy this new life. He lied in bed one night, Argent to one side, Colton to the other, clutching his arm while he slept soundly and thought about how he felt. Todar felt at peace. He felt happy. Then he heard the sound, that familiar, bizarre, guttural wheeze. He lurched forward in the bed, quickly dressing himself, trying as best as he could to not stir his bedmates any more than necessary, and he ran out to the front door. There it was, the TARDIS. The beautiful blue box sat in the middle of the dirt road, light shimmering brilliantly atop it. The door opened, and there he was, the Doctor, still in his horrendous multicolored coat. Todar had a flood of varying emotions rage through his body. Anger, happiness, sorrow, regret, excitement, anticipation, concern, all broiled in his mind, creating a bizarre cocktail that fizzled through his veins.
Apologies, that took longer than expected, but I managed to get everything we needed.
Argent and Colton walked out the door next, similarly shocked to see the Doctor finally here once more. The Doctor didn't notice their shock, or at least didn't acknowledge it, simply carrying on with unloading items from the TARDIS.
I had to push development along a little bit, but here is a matter redistributor module. When you attune it to silver, the molecules can be redirected to a container of your choice from anywhere within a mile radius. Should be easy to fully excavate the mines already dug,
Doctor.
And I've brought along a molecular purification system to further eradicate impurities in the silver, ensuring that Colton doesn't suffer from the transfusion process.
Doctor.
And the piece de resistance, a vial of pure Silvershade genetic structure, guaranteed to make the process easy, quick, painless, and minimally invasive.
Doctor, how did you even obtain this? My people would have never allowed this.
They didn't. It took me a good while to make their government shift to the point they'd allow the use of their genetic material for the salvation of other species. I got there in the end, but it did delay my return.
Argent excitedly took the vial from the Doctor and turned to embrace Colton in a deep, firm, passionate hug. While they were melded together in an explosion of love and happiness, Todar simply stood there, processing, waiting for another interruption. He couldn't take it anymore.
Now then, the next... Doctor!
Everyone went silent and stared directly at Todar.
You were gone for over 3 months. We gave up hope. I gave up hope. We struggled on for so long. And then you just waltz in like this with all the answers to all of our problems, and you think that's the end of everything? Do you understand anything of what I've been through? Of what we've been through together? What we mean to each other now? It all happened in a moment for you, but for me it's been a lifetime.
Todar, I'm sorry. I tried to adjust the timing as best I could, but there were disturbances in the vortex. Pinning a landing anywhere close to when we landed continually proved impossible. This was the soonest time I could find to come back. I want you to know I tried. I genuinely tried.
So what if I want to go with them? What if I want to be a Silvershade too, and continue my life with Colton and Argent instead of you? Would you be happy? Would you accept it? Would you just turn around back to your TARDIS and say goodbye?
The doctor sunk backwards in shock and something Todar could almost identify as disappointment. But not disappointment in Todar. Disappointment in himself.
If that would be what you wanted, I would be remiss to deny you of it. You'll always deserve your own happiness.
Argent interceded, placing a hand gently on Todar's shoulder. Todar, talk to your doctor. Don't let a moment's rage sour you to a lifetime of happiness. I will go take care of Colton. You take care of what matters to you. Argent and Colton retreated into the house. Todar and the doctor stood apart from each other, awkward silence forming a heavier barrier between them than the most solid of walls. Todar decided he'd have to be the first to break it. So, Silvershade genetics. How long did that take?
Some time.
That's not an answer. Your coat looks awful.
Yes, you frequently tell me that.
No, it looks worn, old, frayed. Your hair's different too.
Well, thank you for noticing. I'm certainly not above a moment of vanity.
How long? Tell me the truth, Doctor.
327 years. I knew it'd be a long process to change a culture as tight and isolated as the Silvershades. That's why I left you here. Otherwise, you wouldn't have lived to see the outcome.
Todar's rage melted like ice in a fire. He simply stared at the doctor, tears forming in his eyes.
Oh, I see. Thank you for that. Do you really want to stay with them? Have you really found your new life? I don't know. We've become very close these last 3 months. Closer than I ever imagined I would be with another person, let alone people. I can't imagine just walking away.
I see.
I suppose this is goodbye then. Stay. Let's see how Colton's treatment goes. Let's see them off. That'll give me time to decide. Very well. I could do with some time off, I suppose.
And once again, time passed in the right order, one day at a time. Colton's treatment was a resounding success. His cancer had vanished, and his body was filled with silver, with enough left over to fund the town for multiple years. The doctor spent his time in the saloon, conversing with the miners, learning stories and tales of the location. He met the Navajo people who came to buy the silver, and helped the locals better their water purification systems. Todar stared at Argent and Colton, and thought about how they made him feel. He stared at the doctor, and thought about the adventure and thrills that awaited them every day their journeys would continue. He weighed security and longevity against adventure and risk. He weighed love against companionship. The day came and Argent and Colton gathered with the locals in the center of the town, ready to depart. Todar and the doctor were nearby, still awkward, but also both smiling happily at this wonderful conclusion to a dark saga. People, I've wronged you. I've wronged many of you. Travis,
I'm sorry for what I did. To Evans, I'm sorry I did what I did. That won't bring him back. I know. It won't relieve you all of the woes and damages I've done. But you know the full story now. And I know I could have avoided all that heartache with honesty and trust. Thank you for being there for us. Doctor, thank you for everything you did to help Colton. You kept my man safe while he was at the greatest risk. A huge cost to yourself and your companion. I'm eternally grateful.
Toda stepped forward, eyes wide and looking at Argent with a pleading look. He still was so uneasy with how to make his decision. He wanted help without wanting to ask for it. He hoped Argent would understand his internal dilemma.
Dodar, I never thought I'd love anyone as much as I came to love Colton, but you have come so very close. You are a part of our family, and I think you always will be. But you have a bigger journey ahead of you, one that involves doing great things and saving many lives, not just roaming through space like we will. You stay with your doctor. You travel the universe, but remember us. One day, we can be together. But only when your journey is ready to end.
Argent,
We don't need words, Todar.
At this, Colton pulled Toda and Argent into a warm, embracing kiss, all three meeting together in a display of beautiful love. They parted, Toda and Colton both with tears in their eyes, Argent still smirking and stoic as always, though some say they saw his lip quiver, so slightly. Argent gently grabbed Toda's sleeve and pulled him to one side, where they could converse in private.
We did good with Colton's treatment even before the doctor showed up. It ended up giving us a little something special.
What do you mean? Argent reached into his internal coat pocket, pulling out the vial of genetic structure serum, still half full. He placed it in Toda's hand, proceeding to clutch that hand tightly in his.
There's enough left over for another conversion, but as I say, you need to finish your journey first. Colton has showed me how beautiful human life can be. You shouldn't miss out on that when you have a chance to live such an amazing life as you are.
I will always love you guys.
And goodbye is only the shortest of times. We will be together, one day, as we are now, but forever in our hearts. But now, you go be a hero.
They shared one final kiss, and Toda returned to the doctor's side, still staying silent and stoic. They watched as Colton and Argent enwrapped their bodies in smooth silver structures that began to levitate slowly off the ground, rising into the pungently blue sky before shooting up into the clouds, out of the atmosphere and into the reaches of space. The townspeople cheered and waved for some time before parting, heading out to do their work, expand their town, and revel in their newfound wealth and security. Toda twirled the vial in his hand before putting it away in a pocket and turning to face the doctor. He smiled softly. One day I may be part of that family. But for now, Doctor, my family is you. The TARDIS is my home. I'm sorry I got so angry at you. No, I'm sorry I didn't make better plans to get back to you at the right time. I genuinely have no clue what inhibited my TARDIS. It's actually quite worrisome. She's not inhibited now, right? Not even slightly. Then let's go somewhere amazing. The TARDIS door creaked open. The two walked in, and the TARDIS wheezed once more, vanishing away as townspeople walked around her, never noticing her, outside of sensing something in the corner of their eyes. More noticeable to them was the arrival of a strange cloaked figure who strolled through the town, examining the surroundings with an air of pompous disdain.
The doctor managed to find a way around our time scoop. We'll have to locate him further along his timeline. He will be procured in the name of Rassilon.
We just lost